It's no reason that we were sleeping together and I can't get a paternity test. You slept with me on Blue's birthday.
Now, this Chrisean rock situation just took a turn so dark, so messy, and so uncomfortable that the internet doesn't even know whether to gossip, investigate, or sit quietly, like the Wi-Fi just went out during a Zeus reunion fight. Because Ronny Doe wasn't just some random ex popping up for attention. He was speaking like a man carrying years of history, old wounds, and unanswered questions that refused to stay buried. And the wildest part is, this interview hits different now because it wasn't just drama for views anymore. It feels like somebody left behind a final chapter before the whole story turned tragic. Ronny was talking about Chrisean before the fame, before Blueface, before the baby drama became internet courtroom entertainment with everybody acting like DNA experts. In the comments, he opened up about the relationship, the confusion, the paternity doubts, and the kind of emotional chaos that makes reality TV look like a church picnic. But once tragedy entered the picture, every clip, every claim, and every pause suddenly felt heavier than before. Because the real question isn't just what Ronny said before everything changed. It's what he may have known that everybody is now scared to discuss. Before the tragedy. Before the internet started replaying every clip like detectives with ring lights and too much free time. Ronny Doe was already sitting on a story that sounded messy enough to shut down a Zeus reunion. He wasn't just talking like an ex with hurt feelings. He was speaking like somebody who felt edited out of a chapter he helped write. And baby, that is exactly where the chaos begins. Because once Chrisean rock, Blueface, and paternity rumors entered the same sentence, the internet turned into a courthouse with no judge, no evidence table, and everybody yelling objection from the comments section. The whole situation had that uncomfortable energy where drama stops feeling funny and starts feeling like a warning sign blinking in red. Ronny's connection to Chrisean wasn't some random clout-chasing footnote that popped up after fame got loud. According to the storyline being discussed publicly, he knew her before the world turned her personal life into pay-per-view chaos. Before every argument became content, and before every relationship detail got dragged through the algorithm like a suitcase with one wheel missing. That is what made his interview feel different, because he wasn't just reacting to the famous version of Chrisean that fans debate every week. He was talking about the version before the cameras. Before Blueface became the permanent storm cloud over her name, and before the baby drama became a full-blown internet investigation. And let's be real, once Ronny started speaking on the baby situation, the whole internet leaned forward like somebody just dropped security footage at a family reunion. He claimed he wanted answers, he wanted clarity, and he wanted a DNA test, which immediately turned the situation from messy gossip into emotional warfare with screenshots attached. Fans were already used to Chrisean and Blueface drama flipping from love story to wrestling match in record time. But Ronny's claims added another layer that nobody could ignore. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about two toxic celebrities fighting online. It became about timelines, relationships, responsibility, and a child caught in the middle of grown people chaos. The wild part is that Blueface had already been part of so many public arguments with Chrisean that people almost treated the drama like a long-running reality show nobody asked to renew. Every breakup, every reunion, every shady post, every live stream moment, and every family comment had been stacked up like episodes in a season that refused to end. Then Ronny stepped into that already burning house and basically said, "Hold on, there is another door nobody wants to open." And the second he did that, the internet didn't calmly ask for facts. It grabbed popcorn, started making theories, and turned the whole thing into Marvel multiverse baby daddy madness. This is where the story gets uncomfortable because Ronny's tone did not feel like somebody just trying to trend for a weekend. He sounded emotional, frustrated, and tired of watching the world discuss something that he believed involved him directly. Whether people believed him or not, his words carried that heavy feeling of somebody trying to force a conversation that everyone else wanted to control, avoid, or spin into their own version. And when an ex starts speaking from that place, especially around a celebrity who already has the internet watching every move, the drama doesn't just grow. It mutates into something louder, sharper, think way harder to clean up. Chrisean's side of the story, of course, did not exist in a quiet little bubble either, because her name was already tied to years of viral chaos, loyalty debates, motherhood, criticism, blueface arguments, and fans switching sides every other business day. One minute, the internet defends her like she is the misunderstood main character in a documentary. And the next minute, they drag her like she personally unplugged everybody's Wi-Fi. That is why Ronny's interview hit so hard, because people were not hearing it in a neutral room. They were hearing it through years of public baggage, emotional exhaustion, fan bias, and that toxic online habit of deciding somebody is guilty before the story even finishes loading. And then came the leaks, clips, reposts, and reaction pages. Doing what reaction pages do best, taking one emotional statement and turning it into 17 headlines with fire emojis. People started dissecting Ronny's facial expressions, Chrisean's silence, Blueface's past comments, family reactions, and every possible timeline, like they were solving a Netflix crime series with a Zeus budget. Some viewers thought Ronny deserved answers, others accused him of chasing attention. And another group just sat there confused because the paternity drama had more plot twists than a Kardashian holiday special. But the more people talked, the more the whole situation started feeling less like entertainment and more like a ticking bomb. Nobody wanted to admit was ticking. What made the buildup even messier was how every person connected to Chrisean and Lee. And Blueface seemed to become part of the public courtroom whether they wanted to or not. Fans were dragging old statements back into the light, comparing dates, replaying interviews, and acting like Instagram Live was a legal deposition. Meanwhile, the emotional weight kept getting buried under jokes, memes, and sarcastic commentary, because that is what the internet does when a situation gets too real. It laughs first, investigates second, apologizes never. And by the time people realize somebody's actual life is being swallowed by the drama, the clips have already gone viral. Ronny's interview became the kind of content that feels different after tragedy because suddenly every sentence starts sounding like foreshadowing. Before, people may have watched it for mess, for tea, for another angle in the Chrisean Blueface circus. But after his death, the tone shifted completely. Now, viewers were not just asking whether his claims were true. They were asking what kind of pain he was carrying, what kind of pressure surrounded him, and why this story felt so unfinished. That is the haunting part, because when somebody speaks before they are gone, the internet starts treating every word like a clue, even when the truth is more complicated than a comment section can handle. By the time the public learned Ronny was gone, the same drama that once looked like viral gossip suddenly had a shadow over it. The paternity questions, the emotional interviews, the Blueface comparisons, and the Chrisean debates all started feeling heavier, like everyone had been laughing at a storm before realizing somebody was standing in the middle of it. And that is why this story does not move like ordinary celebrity drama. It begins with messy history, grows through public claims, catches fire through fan reactions, and then crashes into tragedy so hard that even the loudest commentators had to pause for a second. But even that pause did not last long, because the internet does not know how to sit still when unanswered questions are floating around. Once Ronny's name was tied to tragedy, everybody started rewinding the timeline, asking why the DNA topic became so explosive, why the emotions around Chrisean's past felt so intense, and why Blueface's presence always seemed to turn every private issue into a public battlefield. It was messy, it was sad, it was confusing, and it had all the ingredients of a scandal nobody could neatly explain. And just when people thought they understood the foundation of the drama, the next wave of reactions made everything even louder. And Once Ronnie's interview started moving across the internet, the entire situation went from regular celebrity mess to full-blown digital emergency. Like somebody pressed the red button inside a Zeus control room and forgot to turn it off. The clips started spreading, the captions got darker. And suddenly, everybody was acting like they personally knew the timeline, the pregnancy calendar, and every private conversation Chrisean ever had. Ronnie's words were being chopped, reposted, stitched, and debated so aggressively that the original interview almost became background noise. The drama was no longer just what he said. It became what everybody thought his words secretly meant. The internet reacted exactly how the internet always reacts when a painful situation gets wrapped in celebrity chaos. Loudly, unfairly, dramatically, and with the emotional maturity of a WWE crowd after somebody gets hit with a folding chair. Some fans said Ronny deserved peace and answers because he sounded like a man who had been carrying confusion for way too long. Others pushed back, saying the DNA conversation should have never become public ammunition around a child. Then came the third group, the professional comment section lawyers, who started building entire conspiracy boards from timestamps, old posts, facial expressions, and screenshots with suspiciously low battery percentages and baby. Once Blueface got dragged back into the conversation, the whole thing became a toxic reality TV triangle with no commercial break. Because Blueface and Chrisean's history already had enough public chaos to fill 7 seasons, 3 reunion specials, and 1 emergency therapy session hosted by someone's exhausted auntie. So when Ronnie's paternity questions entered the picture, fans immediately started comparing old Blueface comments, past DNA drama, and Chrisean's reactions like they were decoding a Marvel post-credit scene. Every old clip suddenly looked suspicious, every caption became evidence, and every silence turned into a theory wearing sunglasses. The memes came fast too, because the internet will turn heartbreak into a joke before the truth even finishes putting on shoes. People were posting fake courtroom edits, imaginary Maury-style reactions, Blueface side-eyes, Chrisean chaos compilations, and captions, acting like the baby drama needed its own Supreme Court hearing. But underneath all the jokes was something way more uncomfortable. Ronnie's interview did not sound like a man just chasing a trending topic. It sounded like somebody trying to get clarity before the world permanently decided his role in a story he believed he belonged inside. That is where the contradiction started making everybody dizzy, because depending on who you listen to, the entire situation had a different villain every 5 minutes. To some people, Ronny was the hurt ex finally speaking after being ignored. To others, Chrisean was a woman tired of everybody turning her motherhood into a public debate. Blueface supporters were pointing at DNA results. Critics were pointing at old doubts. And neutral viewers were just sitting there like they accidentally walked into a Kardashian family meeting during tax season. Nobody could agree on the truth. But everybody had a microphone and a ring light. Then the emotional layer got even heavier after Ronnie's passing, because suddenly the internet had to confront the difference between gossip and grief. Before the tragedy, people were treating the story like messy entertainment. Another scandal in the Chrisean universe where every update came with screaming reactions and dramatic thumbnails. But after the news spread, those same clips felt completely different. What once sounded like an explosive interview started feeling like unfinished business, like a final message trapped inside a storyline that kept moving even after one of the people involved was no longer here to explain himself. Chrisean posting the DNA results after Ronnie's death only added another explosive turn to a situation that was already smoking like a backstage fight at a Zeus taping. For some viewers, it was her way of shutting down the rumors once and for all, putting the paperwork on the table and saying the conversation was over. But for others, the timing felt painfully loaded because the person who had been asking those questions was gone. That is why the reaction was so divided. One side saw closure, Another side saw heartbreak. And the internet saw another reason to argue until sunrise. Celebrity reaction pages, gossip blogs, and fan accounts treated the entire art. I treated the entire situation like breaking news from the messiest courthouse in America. One page would frame Ronny as a tragic figure searching for answers. Another would defend Chrisean from being dragged during grief. And another would somehow make the whole thing about Blueface's family dynamics, because apparently this story has more side doors than a Marvel multiverse mansion. The comments were brutal, emotional, and chaotic, with people bouncing between sympathy, suspicion, sarcasm, and straight-up confusion. It was messy in the kind of way that makes everybody watch but nobody feel good afterward. And through all of that, the biggest issue kept getting louder. A child was sitting at the center of an adult storm that the internet kept turning into entertainment. Fans were arguing names, timelines, DNA, relationships. And grief like this was just another reality show episode. But the reality was much heavier than the memes. Ronny's interview opened a door. Chrisean's response tried to close one, Blueface's. History kept another one cracked open. The public kept running through every hallway, looking for the next shocking detail. By the time part 2 reaches its peak, the drama is no longer just louder. It is completely out of control. After Ronny's passing, all stories stopped feeling like regular internet mess and started feeling like one of those moments where everybody suddenly realizes the jokes went too far. The same clips people had been using for reaction content now had a completely different energy. Like the laughter got snatched out of the room mid-sentence. Fans went from arguing over paternity timelines to asking whether this man's final public moments were being treated like entertainment instead of pain. And that shift made the entire Chrisean Blueface and Ronny triangle feel less like gossip and more like a tragedy with unfinished pages. Chrisean's reputation took another hit. But not in a simple villain of the week kind of way, because this story had too many emotional layers for one easy label. Some people felt she had every right to shut down rumors and protect her son's name from being dragged through internet court every morning. Others felt the timing around the DNA conversation made everything feel colder than a Kardashian dinner after somebody leaks the group chat. So instead of one clean reaction, the public split into camps. And each side acted like they were defending the final truth while standing on half a timeline. Blueface's name stayed floating over the aftermath like a storm cloud that refused to leave the scene, even while he wasn't always directly speaking into the chaos. His history with Chrisean had already shaped the public's view of everything connected to her, so every new update got filtered through that messy relationship archive. Fans were not just debating Ronny's interview anymore. They were dragging up Blueface's past doubts, Chrisean's old statements, and every family comment that made the drama feel even more tangled. It became less about one interview and more about the entire toxic universe that surrounded it. Then came the reputation collapse nobody could fully control, because once grief enters a viral scandal, every person involved gets judged differently. The bloggers who laughed too hard looked insensitive. The fans who treated the child like a debate topic looked reckless. And the people who ignored Ronny's emotions suddenly started rewriting themselves as concerned viewers. The internet loves acting shocked after feeding the fire for weeks. Like it did not bring gasoline, matches, and a folding chair to the scene. But by then, Ronny's story had already become bigger than one clip. And the emotional damage could not be edited out. The alliances started shifting too. Because in drama this heavy, nobody stays in the same position for long. Supporters began asking for compassion instead of constant dragging, while critics doubled down and said unanswered questions deserved attention even after tragedy. Blueface fans used the DNA results as closure. Ronny supporters saw them as painfully late, and neutral viewers were stuck somewhere in the middle with migraine energy and 12 open tabs. It felt like a reality TV finale where every cast member walks off stage But the cameras keep rolling on the damage left behind. And the most uncomfortable part is that the public still does not have a neat ending. So no matter how badly people want one, a DNA result may answer one question, but it does not erase the emotional weight of Ronny speaking before his death, or the way his words now sound heavier in hindsight. It also does not erase the fact that a child became the center of an online battle that grown adults kept turning into content. That is why this story keeps bothering people, because the facts, feelings, timing, and tragedy all crash together in a way that no viral caption can cleanly explain. The unexpected revelation is not just what Ronny said, it is how fast the internet changed its tone once he was no longer here to answer back. Before, people wanted drama, proof, reactions, and another messy update to feed the machine. Afterward, those same people started calling the interview haunting, emotional, and sad, like the story had not been treated as entertainment until the ending became too real to joke about. That is the part nobody wants to admit, because sometimes the internet does not recognize pain until it has already turned it into a thumbnail. So now the aftermath sits there like a season finale with the lights dimmed, the music low, and everybody pretending they are not waiting for one more twist. Chrisean is left carrying motherhood, criticism, and a public image that never gets a quiet day. Blueface remains tied to the conversation whether people like it or not, because his name shaped the entire storyline from the beginning, and Ronny's final interview keeps echoing in the background. It's not because every claim is proven, but because his voice became part of a story that ended before the public was ready. That is why this chapter does not close cleanly. It's because nothing about it feels resolved, peaceful, or simple. The tragedy gave the drama a darker edge. The DNA conversation gave people something to argue over. And the emotional fallout made everybody question what they were really watching. Was it gossip, grief, accountability, or another example of the internet turning private pain into public sport? And just when the audience thinks the story has finally run out of twists, one question still hangs over everything. What else did Ronny know before the final interview went silent? Now listen, if this Ronny Doe situation had your jaw sitting on the floor like it just got served court papers, go ahead and smash that like button like it owes you money, rent, and 3 months of emotional damages. Because this story was not just messy, it was tragic, confusing, uncomfortable, and louder than a Zeus backstage hallway after somebody says, "Roll the footage." Drop your thoughts in the comments, because the real question is not just who was right or wrong. It is whether the internet pushed this drama too far before realizing there was real pain sitting under all that viral chaos. And while you're down there, subscribe to Secret Scoop, because baby, we are not here to sprinkle sugar on scandals and call it journalism. We are here to unpack the drama, drag the contradictions into the light, sty the chaos, and keep the receipts stacked like a reality TV reunion table. Tell me what you think Ronny's final interview really revealed, whether Chrisean handled the aftermath correctly, and why Blueface's name always ends up floating around the storm like a messy weather alert. Until the next scandal comes knocking with a camera crew and a bad attitude, this has been Secret Scoop.